Zoom in. Can I zoom in? Yeah, kind of. So it says, given that x is parallel to m, so x is parallel to m. So look over a picture. We know which lines are parallel, right? One's going up and down.
Yeah.
And angle 7 is congruent to angle 11. So I go look at 7, 11, and I'm actually going to draw that in. So, man, all my wires over here tied together. All right. So draw that in. Maybe not. So 7 and 11 are congruent, right? Yeah, that's what it tells us, all right? So it says fill in the blanks to complete the flow proof, okay? A flow proof is very similar to a T-column or a T-chart or the proofs that we've been doing. It's just kind of a different design and different visual of seeing. So we still going to have to go through a particular statement and then recognize what is the reason for that particular statement. So instead of going kind of left, our flow our T-charts kind of look like this. And we go from this statement here, and that'll give me that'll be the reason, right? Then I'll have this statement here, and that will be the reason. Well, flow chart, when we're done with this, you'll see kind of the difference between the two, but the work inside is still the same. All right. So why is x parallel to m? That's given information. So we write that down. Really want to work all the time. That's given. Now it says angle 11 and angle 5 are corresponding angles. Okay. Why are 11 and 5 corresponding angles?
Definition of corresponding angles.
Right. Come on. All right. So you guys know it's the definition of corresponding angles. When we look at that, is that an option? So it's apparent from the figure. Okay. And really apparent from the figure is going back to say, okay, based on their locations, we know that's the definition, right? Okay. So in this case, we can gain corresponding angles. That's another object, another concept that we can get from a picture. Okay. So check our answer. Tells us we're right. Okay. So now you see the arrows, right? Okay. The arrows in the flow chart tell us with those two things together, okay, we should be able to come up with the idea with this information and that information collectively should be able to provide this new statement of angle 11 congruent to angle 5. Okay. Because here's the logic. If I look at the parallel lines that they provide us. They provided me that parallel line and that parallel line, right? Okay. They gave me those parallel lines, and A is a transversal, right? Okay. Well, don't we know if 5 and 11 were corresponding, and these lines here were parallel, what's that tell me about 5 and 11? They're congruent. Okay. So we're going to choose our option here, okay, because we've got the idea that corresponding, if lines are parallel and are cut by a transversal, then corresponding angles should be congruent, right? So that's the statement and the reason that goes with it. So we look through these. If two parallel lines are corresponding, that doesn't make sense, does it? Lines can't be corresponding. If two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then alternate exterior. That's not what we're doing. If two parallel lines are corresponding, that doesn't make sense either. If two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then alternate interior. That doesn't make sense. If two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then corresponding angles are congruent. Okay. The key thing there is make sure you're reading those. A lot of people see the phrase corresponding right away. That's what we're looking for. And they highlight that first one that had the word corresponding in it, and they don't really take time to read and think what they're saying, and we choose the wrong one. Okay? So now, we have statement 7 is congruent to 11. Well, if I look at my information up here, why was 7 congruent to 11? Now, careful. Are they corresponding? If I look at those red lines, they're not corresponding to red. 7's not even made by the red lines, right? Okay. And maybe if I look at...
I was just going to say 7 and 5 are corresponding, and 5 is corresponding to 11 to each other.
But not off of what we know yet can we make that argument. Look at that. That's why 7 is congruent to 11, because we give. Now your line of logic is what we're going to use here in a moment. But this was 7 is congruent to 11, so that was given. And now with this information here, that 11 was congruent to 5, in this statement here, we're going to put those two together, and they come up with something new. Well, if I have angle 7, it's congruent to angle 11, but angle 11 is congruent to angle 5, why can I say 7 is congruent to 5? Transitive. Okay, so still doesn't want to work. All right. And now they don't say transitive here. It says corresponding angles are congruent. Well, 5 and 11, think about this, 5 and 11 were corresponding, 7 and 11 were not. And the argument that we're trying to make here, this out of there, was what? 7 and 5. Well, 7 and 5, they are corresponding, right? But when are corresponding angles congruent? When the lines are what? Parallel. What two lines up there make 5 and 7? Are they the up and down lines or are they the horizontal ones? Horizontal ones. So A and B, right? Are A and B parallel yet? We haven't talked about them being parallel yet, right? We haven't said that yet. So even though you might say, well, course 7 and 5 are congruent because they're corresponding, we don't know the lines be parallel. This statement here is only true. The corresponding angles are congruent. It's only true when you know the lines that they come from are parallel. So that's not going to be the option here. You guys told me the transitive property when we looked at this phrase up here, okay? When we looked at that phrase, and the transitive property is not here, but it says if two angles are each congruent to a third angle, okay? Two angles, 7 and 5, both congruent to a third angle, angle 11, right? Then the two angles are congruent to each other. That is verbalizing what the transitive property states for us, okay? So that is the thing that we want to choose. Okay? So now, we've got a statement that says 7 and 5 are corresponding angles. Okay? And that, again, is evident from the picture, right? You knew they were corresponding. You told me that they're corresponding a little big ago. Right? But now, why can I say A is parallel to B? All right, because 7 and 5 are corresponding, and we've shown previously that they're also what? Congruent. So if we have corresponding angles that are congruent, then the lines that create them have to be parallel. So that's what we're looking for here. If corresponding angles are congruent, then the two lines cut by the transversal are parallel. Okay, and it's going to be that first option. Check our answer, and we're good to go. Okay, but the idea of that proof, okay, if you struggle with flow chart proofs, we'll see more of them. We'll deal with more of them. But they're really taking a two-column proof, okay? And then, we write our two-column proof out, but whatever two statements I'm using to come up with a third new statement, in the flow chart, they are kind of hard to verbalize and talk about, but so we go back. Okay, so like this statement here, well, it's because of these two, right? Okay, so in our two-column proof, we would have, like, this might be statement 3 and this might be statement 4, and putting those two together, we get this last statement. Okay? Well, on a flow chart, it shows you with these arrows that they're putting those two together to come up with this one. Does that make sense? And maybe sometimes the flow chart might be a little bit more informative in regards to what components are being used to create a new statement, where Your teacher don't necessarily always do that unless you specify, hey, I'm using steps 3 and 5 here to create step 6 or something like that. That's kind of how you would want to go through that. I have seen in the past, and this is why I want to talk about it, the end of course exam will ask you, can you, maybe do this question as a T-chart, prove using T-chart, okay? Others might say, prove this using a flowchart. So we have to be able to at least recognize what they're talking about. It's the same exact statements and reasons, okay? Whether you did a T-chart or you did a flowchart. We'll come back to these again throughout the year and hopefully develop some type of fluency with them, good understanding of them.